What's going on, guys? It's Motorcast, and welcome today for another review of the Mexico City ePrix, a review of the Mexico City ePrix on the Motorcast channel. Today, it's only two of us once again for this review. Nathan's laptop's not working, and Josh, well, I don't know where Josh is. So it's just me and Joe today. I'm the only one to be on all these podcasts so far, so I'll bet that I won't be on the next one, but seeing at the length for the last one that was about 45 minutes, I think we ought to just get straight into it to not waste any time. So let's have a quick discussion about qualifying first. Now, there's a bit of controversy with the first group. Sam Buemi and Grassi all saying that the earlier groups seemed to be clearing up the track for the later groups. Now, the pole man provisionally, Joe, was in Group 2. And do you think if maybe Buemi or Grassi were in the later groups, they could have got higher up the grid?
Yeah, I think it's definitely fair to say. I mean, obviously, you had the free practice sessions before, but once you're getting out into qualifying, it's a completely different ball game. So, obviously, Mexico isn't a city track, as in like a street circuit, but it is like in the middle of the city. So, maybe quite a bit of dust coming along across the track. So yeah, definitely a fair assumption to make. But there's no real way in this format that you can really make it fair for everyone. Maybe at some tracks it works to your advantage. So I guess that's just the luck of the draw.
Yeah, definitely. And Buemi really dominated those two practice sessions and did really well. And it just proves that only provisionally qualifying 10th. But obviously Daniel Abt was disqualified from qualifying. Abt seemed to have a brilliant reputation around this track after Grassi got disqualified last year and Abt got disqualified from qualifying. But Oliver Turvey was then on pole, and then Engel, Lopez and Vergne made up the top four. But I think Lopez got a penalty, or was it Engel? But I think Vergne started third in the end anyway. So let's get on to the race session. Not really much to talk about, but fantastic race, full of drama, I think it's fair to say. And I'm glad to say the championship is back alive again after contrasting fortunes for Grassi and Buemi. Also for Audi, Abt and Renault, decent results from Prost and Abt. That's Daniel Abt, not the team. And Team Abt got 31 points out of this outing, and Renault Edam's only got 11. So actually Abt closed up in the constructors, even though they are still 31 points away. So what a race, I'm going to call you Dan there, but Joe, I don't know why I was going to call you Dan. But what a race there, Joe. I mean, Grassi from, I think it was 17th after all the penalties. From 17th to 1st, after losing his rear wing, coming to the pits early. D'Ambrosio couldn't keep his energy, to a decent level, and actually ended up really retiring at the end in effect. But Grassi, what a race it was from Grassi in the end, Joe.
Yeah, I know. It was fantastic, really. It's the first time I think we've really seen someone go on that completely different strategy and it actually pay off. Obviously, it's so difficult in Formula E, having to conserve the energy for any more than half the race, because these batteries are really being pushed to the limits. But of course, now we're in season 3. The teams have a little bit of experience with it. Maybe can afford to play about a bit and experiment maybe in some practice sessions and whatnot. So yeah, really, really good to actually see a different strategy. And I think it's fair to say it caught everyone off guard, really, because there was a part of the race where we thought maybe Jean-Eric Vergne or Sam Bird were going to take the victory, and Grassi managed to hold it up, which it is good for the championship. I think a lot of people probably questioning the Abt team, and even previous to this race were questioning, how close to the edge they're pushing the rules. But you can't doubt that they pulled off a masterstroke with the strategy in this race.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really quiet strategy, actually. Just coming to the pits during the safety car, and everyone thought, no, this isn't going to happen because they've got so little energy left that I think in the end it was about 3% a lap they were meant to use, whereas it was like 6% the average was. So a tremendous display from Grassi to end. I think it was from about 2% of energy in the end, just made it to the line. But I think it's fair to say that Jean-Eric Vergne, if he'd have got past D'Ambrosio, he would have won the race, no doubt about it, because he'd got that little bit more energy. But as it says here, D'Ambrosio doing a tremendous job to hold up all below Grassi, but then ran out of energy and finished up P13. It wasn't a good day for Dragon at all, really, because Duval stopped out on track on lap 25. And really, Joe, do you think that Jean-Eric Vergne would have won quite easily if he'd got past Ambrosio easily, or do you think that because Sam Bird had a little bit more edgy, that Sam Bird could have won this race? I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's difficult to say, obviously, but I think in effect, D'Ambrosio almost acted as a bit of a teammate in essence to Di Grassi. You know, he held the pack up nicely. Obviously, we know that apt car, bar the Renault, is the quickest car out there. So, you know, give him any sort of buffer, and, you know, he can afford to just sort of cruise and use a bit less energy. And, yeah, I think for sure if Vergne would have been right up behind Di Grassi, it would have been so difficult for him, obviously lifting and coasting a lot more, using basically half the energy that the other drivers were using. As you said, you know, Di Grassi had to use 3% a lap, whereas the others were able to use 6%. So, yeah, I think Vergne, Bird, you know, even the likes of Mitch Evans probably would have been on the back of Di Grassi come the end of the race. But, no, fantastic job from D'Ambrosio, as you say, and it was a shame for him not to get any points because, you know, he very nearly pulled that strategy off and, yeah, pretty much, you know, did as good a job as Di Grassi, just wasn't quite in as good a car.
Yeah, and I'm sure Dragon might knock on the app door just asking for a few of those points from the win, because effectively D'Ambrosio did give him the win. But a bit of a worry for Dragon, really, because D'Ambrosio did really well, but obviously Duval stopped out on track and they scored no points. Andretti and Venturi didn't, but Jaguar, what a result from Jaguar. 16 points in the end. It was Mitch Evans who finished in 4th, that was right, only 9.7 seconds off the leader, Di Grassi, and then Adam Carroll getting 8th. So, can Jaguar build from here, or was it just a bit of luck?
I think I said at the start of the season that, you know, as the rounds go on, Jaguar will definitely close up that gap. I mean, we saw at the start of the season they were a little bit off the pace, but, you know, as it goes with Formula E, it's a lot more easy than Formula 1 to sort of come into the sport and at least become competitive reasonably quickly. And, you know, they've proven we're on round 5 now, or round 4 now. And, you know, already they're proving that they can get up the field. A double points finish. I think, you know, you said maybe is it a little bit of luck. I think we'll maybe reserve judgments for a couple of races, but, you know, and then maybe assess it like halfway through the season. But to get a double points finish, I think that's pretty impressive. Maybe if they've just had that one fluke result with Mitch Evans up in 4th, then you could say, yeah, it's a bit of a fluke. But, yeah, the fact that Adam Carroll as well, only 14 seconds off the lead and, you know, only 4 seconds behind his teammate who was, 4 positions ahead of him, then, yeah, that's a pretty good achievement from Jaguar. So, yeah, it'd be really, really good to see him build from here and, yeah, hopefully have a really competitive car from the start next season.
Yeah, absolutely. It really boosted them up the constructors' table, and in fact, they've overtook Venturi, who got no points, and are only 3 points behind Dragon, who were D'Ambrosio and Duval didn't score any points for. So if they can keep scoring points, they can kind of get to that top of the bottom group, which is between 7th and 10th. And then we've sort of got the group between 6th and 3rd, which is Nextev in 6th, who've got 30 points, and then Virgin in 3rd that have got 43. And then you've got the top 2 that are just going massively ahead. Renault Edams with 122, and then Team At with 91. Obviously helped by their 2 top drivers, Lucas Di Grassi and Buemi, being the top 2 in the standings. So going on to Cheetah, we've talked a little bit about Jean-Eric Vergne, but Gutierrez as well made his debut in the Mexico City ePrix, a bit of a home favourite for the fans to cheer on. A decent point for Gutierrez. He didn't really do well in the practice sessions, but it's all really about getting used to the car, isn't it, for Esteban?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously really impressive to see him, you know, come in and score points on the first outing in you know it definitely isn't the best car on the grid by any stretch. I mean, it isn't a poor car, as Vergne showed and obviously as he showed in qualifying as well. And yeah, I just think it's so difficult when you're coming into a sport like Formula E midway through the season. Obviously, all the sessions are on one day. You can do as much work on the simulator as you want, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, you've got to produce it at that race circuit on the day. The first time that he's really jumped into the car and you know, got accustomed to it quickly. I mean, you know, yes, it's a circuit that he knows, but it's a different variation of it. So yeah, really, really top job from Gutierrez and from Techeetah as a whole. I mean, just like Jaguar, they've come into the sport and it was a really, really big big step for them to get a driver like Jean-Eric Vergne, who I think you can you can definitely put him in that top bracket of drivers. I think, de Grassi, Vergne, Bird, and Buemi, probably the 4 drivers which I'd put in that very, very top tier of Formula E drivers. So yeah, to get him was massive for Techeetah, and I'm sure it'll only be a matter of time before he wins a race. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, DS Virgin would have been gutted to lose Vergne last season, because I think Bird and Vergne was definitely the top combination on the grid. But, Esteban Gutierrez maybe getting a bit of luck because everyone behind him, apart from Sarrazin, I had no idea what happened to Sarrazin in the race. But obviously, Freitz, Heidfeld, D'Ambrosio and Buemi all having issues of some sort. And then we had the 5 that retired. But still, a bit of a confidence boost for Gutierrez. And I think, as Jean-Eric Vergne tweeted, hopefully Techeetah can share double podiums in the future. That'd definitely be nice for the two of them. And for Gutierrez to really build his career again after a poor showing in Formula 1 with Sauber and Haas. So we're going on to a bit of DS Virgin discussion now. And we talked a little bit about Sam Bird earlier. A second podium out of 3 finishes, only 5 seconds behind the leader of Di Grassi. And it could be a little bit questionable, as we said earlier, if, Vergne and Bird would have got past D'Ambrosio earlier, whether Bird would have caught up to Vergne and Di Grassi and got past. But definitely a solid performance from Bird, 2 podiums in 2 good races. The other 2 races have been really unfortunate. But Lopez, he had a really good race until he had a bit of a synchronised spin with Buemi at the first corner. That was definitely interesting to see. And I bet Buemi at the first corner was going, oh no, I don't want to hit Lopez. And it's pretty close actually. But luckily both drivers got out of that all right. But Lopez, after all the drama, a pretty solid drive to P6.
Yeah, it was incredible to see that, like down into turn 1. I mean, you just see Lopez go spinning off, and then all of a sudden you see Buemi. It was interesting to say the least, but no. Lopez again did a really, really good job. Very unfortunate with that spin, because he was on for a great result. But and also Sam Bird, as you said, he's just like every season in Formula E. He's had his bad luck. He retired in the last race. Obviously, a poor showing in Hong Kong as well, where Virgin didn't actually score any points, but. In the 2 races where he's really given himself a good opportunity at a decent result, he's taken that, and the second podium of the season for him moves him up to 5th in the Drivers' Championship as well. After having only finished half of the races this season is pretty impressive. And I think it says a lot about the competition in the middle of the grid. Currently this season, but it's still early days. We've still got plenty of rounds to come. I believe we have 2 races in the final 3 rounds.
Final 2, Canada and New York.
Final 2, yeah. Right? Yeah. So we've still got. We're what, like a third of the way through the season?
Yeah, we've still got 8 races to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's plenty of time yet for him to make up that ground. Yes, he's 43 points off the lead, but I think for Bird, it's just about putting in those consistent performances, something which he hasn't really found yet, and that's exactly what I said at the start of the season. For Sam Bird this season, it's just going to be a matter of whether he's going to be able to score consistently, because we don't question that he's a class driver, because we all know he is. But would be good to see him get a win sooner rather than later, and that could really boost his championship chances.
But it's definitely proven by Di Grassi that obviously and Buemi that a blip can really open the championship again. And maybe Sam Bird a little bit too far behind, but there's 8 rounds to go, so anything can happen. I mean, Buemi and Di Grassi could have a fall from grace, but you simply never know. But that kind of leaves us on to a discussion about the circuit. Now, turn 1 obviously was tricky, because turn 1 was probably the best place to get past. But you couldn't really come from that far behind because it was quite tight generally going into the corner. The other corners you couldn't really overtake on. I think it was turn 2 or turn 3 that Vergne tried quite a few times on D'Ambrosio, and nearly with fatal consequences. And what do you think about the Mexico track, Joe? Do you think it's sustainable for Formula E, or do you think they need to have more overtaking opportunities on that track?
I was a little bit surprised when I first saw the turn 1 to see how tight it was, but obviously, with it being Formula E, they're trying to replicate that almost city circuit track feel that we get at so many of the other circuits. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one. I think if Formula E is going to stay in Mexico, I think they definitely have to try and find an actual location on the streets. Because I don't know, it just doesn't seem to really fit with the whole Formula E vibe. And as you say, there was only really one overtaking opportunity, and that was down into turn 1, which in itself was pretty tight. But this season did produce a pretty good race. I seem to remember last season's was quite a forgettable one. So I don't know. Maybe this was a one-off. Maybe it was just a combination of, teams going with different strategies and obviously drivers going off at turn one. So yeah, I'm a little bit sceptical with the circuit at the moment. I'm not sure whether they've got a contract for next season sorted. Obviously, we'll find that out, in the reasonably near future. But as I say, I just can't really see a long-term future for that track.
Yeah, definitely. But they've definitely got the fan base there, because I think there was over 40,000. I think it was just in the stadium section. And according to Wikipedia, the only circuit that's actually confirmed for next year, which is actually one I haven't heard of yet, is the Sao Paulo ePrix. So that'll be interesting. Right. I don't think it's the F1 track, but it's another circuit in Sao Paulo. I think somewhere in Anhembi. I'm not going to pronounce that, but right. Somewhere like that. Yeah, somewhere like that. But back onto the Formula E, onto next Tev, now a really gutting race for them, because Oliver Turvey, on his birthday, happy birthday to Oliver Turvey, he gets pole after Daniel Apps disqualified, gets a perfect start, perfect restart from the safety car, and then stops out on track at lap 12. Simply just hugely unlucky. But Piquet, with only his real second point scoring position of the season, huge contrast to season one really, in which he won the championship. But how gutting was that, Joe, for Oliver Turvey in this race?
I mean, it was awful luck for him. He obviously got promoted up into pole position, which he must have been delighted with. Once he heard that news, and he pretty much justified the pace that he had in qualifying. Was doing nicely out at the front. Obviously, there were a few cars behind him, but you're always going to get that in Formula E. You rarely get a runaway winner in that first stint. But yeah, just really rotten luck for him. And there's not much else you can really say. I think he can take confidence in the sense that car really does have a good bit of pace, and it shows you that on a given weekend. If you're really on it in qualifying, then you can give yourself a good chance at a race win. It would be great to see him, fighting for another win pretty soon. Obviously, Nelson Piquet proved that maybe that next EV car isn't too competitive, and that's someone who's won a championship as well. So he actually only just finished ahead of Esteban Gutierrez. So that just proves what a great job Turvey has done, and he's done that ever since he came into the sport, in partway through towards the end of season one. So yeah, as I say, it would be great to see him fighting for wins soon.
Yeah, it's a real shame, because I think it was definitely a chance for next Tev to gain more points, really, because if they'd have won the race, then they'd have got jumped into third in the championship, whereas only sixth is a massive difference to that. But next team is going to be Mahindra, and now Mahindra were having a fantastic race. Nick Heidfeld and Rosenqvist were just behind Sam Bird in the battle for that sort of second place, and I believe that both of them had got more energy than the drivers in front, so if they'd have got past, they could have done magnificently. But they just simply got caught up. Nico Prost actually hit Heidfeld, and then Rosenqvist hit his spun Mahindra teammate, and then obviously Prost was delayed for Evans to get past. And it would have been so very good points for Mahindra, and like it says here, it could have been even better with the energy they were saving. But Joe, it just seems that it was not meant to be this race.
Yeah, it was a bit of a calamity towards the end with all the collisions, and it's such a shame for Mahindra, because it's been a difficult season for them so far. At least in the last two rounds, they had such a good start to the season as well, with two podiums in the first two rounds, and obviously Mahindra traditionally in the first couple of seasons have been sort of at least near the bottom of the pecking order. So this season you thought 2 rounds in, they had a double points finish in Marrakesh, they managed to get their podium in Hong Kong. You're thinking, right, they can really build on this, and in the last 2 rounds it hasn't quite happened, but as you said, really encouraging with the pace that they showed, and could have been so much better with that energy that they were saving. But I'm sure they'll take a lot of confidence still from this weekend, and with Monaco next up, obviously you never know what can happen around there. So another opportunity will come for them pretty soon.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. It was just a real shame for them, because as you said, it really was going to be, and then it just didn't. It just faded away, unfortunately. with that crash. But on to the last two teams then, pretty drab races for both Andretti and Venturi. None of Venturi, Andretti, Dragon or Mahindra getting points. And obviously Andretti were penalised for going under the 1 minute pit stop time with France. And Da Costa halted at lap 32. If you look at the actual standings, Robin Freitz was only 6 seconds off the points of Esteban Gutierrez. But it was a peculiar one, wasn't it, Joe? With the memo seemed not to be sent to Andretti, that the timing for the pit stops was changed from 57 seconds to the minute. It was very peculiar. And another question, do you think that Robin Freitz could have scored points if that the calamity and weirdness in the pit stops hadn't happened?
Yeah, it's one that we've seen before. Obviously, that pit stop time, I believe it happened to Edams in season 1. But you would have thought after something like that had happened that all the teams would have been on high alert, trying to get all the information. So yeah, it's a little bit sloppy from the Andretti guys. I think there'll be a bit of an investigation going on with regards to that one, because as you say, Robin Freitz was very much in with a chance of scoring points. Yes, he ended up 6 seconds behind Gutierrez, but I think it just all changed at the pit stops really. So yeah, France would have definitely put himself in with a good chance of getting points, and we know what a good driver he is as well. With regards to Da Costa, disappointing race for him. Obviously retiring sort of midway through, but hopefully they can get points pretty soon.
Yeah, hopefully. And on to the last team now, Venturi. They had as I've described it here, a meh race. And they dropped to last in the team standings purely because of Jaguar's fantastic, you might say, lucky display. But Mauro Engel, first off, Joe, he had a tremendous qualifying. And after Daniel App's penalty, he actually qualified second and had a decent start. But he stopped out on track. It was kind of a theme of the day, wasn't it, really, stopping out on track?
Yeah, it was a great qualifying from Engel, and really reassuring for Venturi, who since the first round are yet to score any points. But it just shows, as I've said before, that on a given day, any team in this sport can have a good qualifying, have a good race. Obviously, it didn't transpire in the end. Retiring 7 laps from the end, and. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange race for Stefan Sarazan as well. Just sort of disappeared off the face of the earth towards the end, and obviously ended up as the only car not to finish near the end, along with Rosenqvist. But yeah, Venturi, they really need to have a good result to boost them up. Both the drivers and constructors standings, because there's a little bit of a gap now between them and Jaguar, who just had a massive weekend. 16 points for a team right at the bottom of the constructors of the team's championship is it's a lot of points. So Venturi, I think. A bit of an investigation will be going on there is how they can just pull their socks up, and they've got to be scoring some points soon, or else it could be a long season for them.
Yeah, but look at the next race, Joe. They could even win that one. Everyone could retire from that one. It's a very peculiar one, Monaco is, and we'll go on to talk about that in just a second. But a bizarre race from Stefan Sarazan, wasn't really saw on the camera at any time. What do you think of Sarazan's driving this season? How do you think he's got on?
Obviously, he scored points in the first round, but since then it's been strange, been a bit difficult for him. Obviously, Engel has been really unlucky, retiring in the last 3 races, whereas Sarazan has actually been classified and finished in every race. So I don't know. It's a difficult one, because towards the end of season 1, he really showed that he could put in some good performances, but he just hasn't really consistently done it. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's retained next season. He is obviously that almost wise head in the team for someone like Engel to work alongside, who's in his first season. But Engel himself, is a pretty experienced driver. He's been around the block, been around the different series. So I wouldn't be surprised if they look towards another driver next season.
Yeah, definitely. And just, looking at the actual 2015 Monaco ePrix, we'll just go on to in a second. Stefan Sarazan obviously driving for Venturi since the start. And they definitely lost a good driver in Nick Heidfeld in that first season. But going on to what I've just been talking about then, the Monaco ePrix is the next one. Unfortunately, just like this one, we have to wait another 5 or 6 weeks. But after that, the season actually kicks off, and I believe we've probably got about 6-7 races in the space of 2 months, which is absolutely fantastic for the sport. But with its gaining exposure, Formula E, hopefully we can get some more top-class drivers in the sport, and maybe some well-known names, maybe Nico Rosberg next season, or Jenson Button. Who knows, it could be anyone, just seems as they want to do it or not. But the 2015 Monaco E-Prix, the only real stuff we have to go on for this Monaco E-Prix preview. And Sébastien Buemi won that race from Nicolas de Grassi and Nelson Piquet Jr. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened again, really. Not much change there. But Joe, what's your top 3 prediction for the Monaco E-Prix? A tough one, but what's your predictions?
Yeah, I think, as you say, it's a difficult one because of the fact that there probably won't be a lot of overtaking, as is traditional with Monaco. And we've seen before that in qualifying, anybody can end up on top. But, I think this could possibly be the round which Buemi, I think maybe the Mexico blip has sort of given Buemi a bit of a kick up the backside. So, I would not be surprised at all if he ended up to win the race. De Grassi obviously got a lot of confidence from that win. I think that could be really, really big for his season, really kickstart it on his quest for the title. So, I think Buemi and De Grassi once again will be on the podium, and I can see one surprise in the top 3. I'm not sure who it's going to be, but I think there'll be one driver who maybe we don't expect that's going to be on the podium next time.
My initial thoughts, for some reason, I've got in my head it could be one of the Mahindras on the podium, either Heidfeld or Rosenqvist. Because it was in Hong Kong or Marrakesh, I can't remember where it was, that Rosenqvist drove really well and got a podium and nearly got a win actually. So definitely a lot more to see from him. But in the qualifying session in 2015, there was only 9 tenths between the top 16 on that grid, so I know the gap's kind of gone a bit bigger in that space, but in that period of time. But fingers crossed we can have a lot more close battling. But that really rounds up our review of this one. It's glad to see it's a bit more of appropriate time rather than 45 minutes. But in this time we haven't rushed it at all. We've got all the main talking points over and done with. The next time we will see you is in about 5 or 6 weeks for the Monaco E-Prix review. That'll be pretty much out on the Sunday, or in fact it might even be out on the Saturday, because obviously the Buenos Aires and Mexican E-Prix are on the night time. Fingers crossed we can get a review for that one recorded straight after and get it on your sub boxes by, fingers crossed, 5, 6 or 7 p.m. But I think that's pretty much it for today's review of the Mexico E-Prix. Thank you very much, Joe, for coming on. It's nice to see that us two are committed rather than the other two.
Yeah.
No dig intended there to any of them, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get the other two on for Monaco. But yes, I think that's pretty much it. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe to the Motorcast channel for plenty of podcasts on which me and Joe and the other guys are going to be on. But we will see you at the next E-Prix review. Goodbye.